It's just a gorgeous late March morning. Holy cow, it is freezing. Northwest wind blowing about 20 knots. Tarps are rattling, making all sorts of noise. Great day for boat work inside. So this is kind of fun. I'm here to pick up my sail, my mainsail, which has been repaired. And I don't know, maybe look at some new sails? No, just kidding. Okay, so let's take a look at this sail and see what they did. See, they gave me a nice little tag here. Let's get her unwrapped.
Cross-eyed strangers, this is not a joke, so please stop smiling. What was I thinking when I said it didn't hurt?
Okay, so I took the sail into North, or I gave the sail to North Sails this winter to repair because I had ripped one of the batten pockets. And I wasn't sure what they were going to do. They were going to do a 10-point inspection, which they did. It was about $200. They repaired the part that I had ripped, and it looks like they had added some chafing material. I can show you that here. So this is the pocket that had ripped. And it ripped right along here, and looks like they just put in some fresh stitching there. But what they've done, which I'm quite pleased with, is they've added new material right along here, and then at the very head of the sail there's a piece of material that goes all the way up to the head. So that's just a bit of chafe protection, I guess, which is nice. The sail still in reasonably good shape. It's probably about 6 years old at this point. I did not opt for the $200 cleaning. Maybe next season. So 1 week later, the last weekend of March, and of course it is feels like -10 and it's snowing. Not perfect for boat prep, but nice to be inside here and checking the sail out anyway. Now let's see if I can put this thing away single-handed.
I'm trying to break your heart. I am trying to break your heart. But still I would be lying if I said
I'd say that's probably not the neatest job ever, but doing this single-handedly is a bit of a challenge. Anyway, she's in the bag, ready to rock. Hey guys, welcome back aboard HMS Windy AF. Sorry, it is somehow even windier and much colder this weekend than it was last weekend, but we're back aboard and I wanted to show you what the gel coat looks like that we did last weekend. So, here it is. It has that slight texture. I don't know if you can really pick it up, but just have to knock this down with a bit of sanding, which you'll see in time lapse here today. But I think it turned out really well. Look, I'm really pleased with the color match. I think once this is sanded and buffed, you will not be able to tell the difference between what I did last year and what I've just done. Up here, gives you a really good idea of the difference between the old, some more brownish gel coat and the color that I'm turning the boat into. I just think this is a much nicer, brighter, cleaner look. So I'm really happy with the way this is turning out. And now begins the annoying bit, which is sanding this all down. I'm going to start with some, I've cut up some 80 grit just to do a light hand sand on it, just to try and knock down. There's a bunch of high spots. It's unavoidable when you're using a roller. So I'll just go over that as gently as I can to try and knock those down, and then I'll progressively go from there to maybe a 120, then a 180, then a 400, 800, 1000, 2000. So we'll take it, we'll go right down to the finest grit we can, and then after that it's the buffer with the compound, and then we'll be ready to do the masking tape to get the non-skid applied. So that's probably next weekend. It is way too cold. It's supposed to be -4 right now, feels like -10. It's the end of March. Gosh, I wouldn't want to be doing any outside boat work to get this thing ready. We launch in about 30 days, just over. So the clock is ticking, and the race is on. Let me just explain a little bit more about what I'm trying to do here. So in these sections here, there's a slight dimpling effect, and I'm not going to go too crazy here. All I'm really trying to do in this area where there will be like a non-skid application, I don't need it to be perfect. I just want to knock that top layer off that had the wax. So what happens when you put the wax on? As the gel coat cures, the wax rises to the top and then seals it in so that the gel can get nice and hard underneath that wax layer. But if you're going to then apply more gel coat on top, which I'm going to do for the non-skid application, you need to get rid of all the wax, because the new gel coat won't adhere nicely to that gel coat that's got the wax applied to it. So I got to knock that back, get some non-wax gel coat exposed, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Where it has to be perfect, and this is the hard part, is along the edges where it'll be just a nice smooth finish. The trick here is to get rid of all the high spots without exposing the darker color underneath. And I've struggled with that in the past, and I've just had to live with it not being 100% perfect. The trick is, underneath this radius, it dips in, and so getting in here to clear that out, you really have to be careful. So I go at it with an 80 just to start with, but I'm thinking very quickly I'll have to move away from that. Otherwise I run the risk of exposing the darker color underneath, which I don't want to do. Well, it's getting incredibly dusty in here, and I don't want dust all on the camera, and I'm sure it's boring. So that's basically going to be my my job here for the rest of the morning. When I'm done, I'll show you the results. Okay, so I've now gone at this with some 80 grit, some 120, and some 220, and quite dusty in here, but it's getting smooth. Which is good. I'm pleased with that. Of course, I couldn't avoid the problem which has always plagued me with this, which is, especially on the radius, going a little bit too far, and then having to deal with the color bleeding through down below. I've got it in a few sort of key spots. So I'm gonna have to, once it warms up, I'm gonna have to go over that again with a bit more gel coat and try sanding again, being more gentle this time. It's sort of a challenge and a balance between making it look perfect and, you know, being just good enough. It is a 43-year-old sailboat. It's not going to look factory fresh, but you do want it to look as nice as you can. Okay, I've finished the starboard side now with 220 grit, and I don't know whether I was just a little bit more aggressive this time, but got a lot more low spots where the color has bled through, which is so annoying. All that means really is I'm going to have to do another coat and try again. That's the thing with the gel coat is you can make these mistakes. They're easy to fix. It's just it's more material, more time, which sucks. But anyway, that sort of brings me to a question that you may be asking yourself, which is why am I using gel coat and not just painting? There's a few reasons. The first reason is that gel coat is really easy to repair. So if there's a nick or you get a bit of damage, you can do a spot repair with gel coat in a way that you can't with paint. With paint, it just always looks like crap and it'll flake and peel. With the gel coat, it'll go down, you can buff it down, and you won't even know it ever was there. Secondly, it's so easy to work with in terms of sanding. Now, it takes a lot of time and elbow grease, but the results are really quite good. And I'll just show you in a quick spot here some wet sanding, and I'll show you what it looks like even with just some 800 grit. Well, first I'll do some 400 grit wet sand, then some 800 grit, and you'll see what I mean. It comes out quite nice. Okay, so starting first with the 400 grit, I'm going to just cut off a piece from the sheet. You always fold it into thirds over itself so that you're not sanding the sandpaper itself. Grab my little spray bottle, just wet the area a bit. Wet the paper. You just start sanding until you feel it's sort of sucking down, and then you need a bit more water to keep it lubricated. I'll just spend a bit of time with this. I already feel that feels quite smooth. Let me just give that a wipe down. Then I'll step up to 800. And I like the 3M sandpaper. I find it a quality product. Okay, so again, fold over. Wet, wet, wet. Not wet, wet. I can already feel it's so smooth. It's like slippery. It's slippery. That's the word I'm looking for. It's slippery. All right. So if I show you. Close enough to see. Feel-o-vision is what you need, but this feels just slick and smooth and looks brand new, to be honest, which is what I'm going for. So that's why I bother, and it is a bother, with the gel coat, because I think the results are much nicer than paint. So there you go. Thanks for coming along. See you next week.